Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would do a bonus current events video for you guys. And really shouldn't even be current events, but it still is, so I figured, what the hell, I'll go ahead and talk about it. People have been asking me, demanding, begging for years. Yes, and it has been years now, by the way. Yeah, it actually has been years. This wasn't just from last year, guys. You guys might want to do some checking on that. Will you address these stolen valor claims? Will you address the mercenary claims? Yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and address all that the best way that I can. It's about time that I do it so that we understand, everyone understands what really happened, because the myth and the legends versus what I actually did, said, and why I did it is so far from what actually happened that it's kind of created a legend of its own, which has gotten pretty ridiculous. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And I think some of the reason I need to address this is that because certain people early on in all of this stuff, other YouTubers, had said a bunch of false things about what I actually said that weren't what I said. And what I mean by weren't what I said, meaning what I would be able to prove in court if, for example, the Stolen Valor Act was reenacted at the federal level and all the proposed amendments to it be added so that they could expand the definition. I've actually got all the records in the original recordings. I have all the original uploaded footage that would be able to show that I technically didn't do anything that would fall under any of those categories. In other words, there's actually no record in any of the videos, which I've actually kept on private on YouTube. I had never actually said I served in any branch of the military. There's rumors all over the internet as to which branch I supposedly claimed to have been in. I didn't. I actually specifically said I have never served in the military, and there's no record existing of me having served in any military anywhere on earth. Right? Very clearly said that, but that kind of gets missed in the whole legend, doesn't it? The way people spin this stuff around. Same thing, people want to argue about which government agencies I was an agent of. I didn't name a government agency. In fact, I specifically said I was never an agent or a member of any government organization of any government, U.S. or otherwise, at any point in my life. And there's no record showing that I have been. So you guys kind of see how this myth can get spun into crazy directions. In fact, everything that I said was so ambiguous that it forced people to fill in the blanks. And people have created this enormous legend that they just joke and troll about based upon my original trolling. And I'll get to how you guys should be able to determine it was trolling, based upon my history of trolling on this channel and my older channel, that it's been spun with people filling in all the blanks that I left there. I mean, people actually think I made claims of specific countries that I worked in, or I made claims of specific continents. I didn't. Everyone filled in the blanks. See, that's the beauty of when you really know how to troll people and mess with people. They will fill in the blanks of things themselves, of the details that you leave out. And again, if you guys look at human memory, when you leave details out, human memory will fill in blanks, and people will remember details as if they really happened once they fill in the blanks, and they can actually create it all themselves. And that's what people did. I was intentionally ambiguous. Now, people would say, well, why did you do that? Well, in retrospect, it probably wasn't the best of ideas. If you guys want me to be honest here, I'm going to bash on some people for taking it too seriously, because I'm going to question your mental faculties. But in retrospect, it probably wasn't the best idea on my part. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Because again, I've done a lot of antics for trolling that drew a lot of attention to my channel that everyone realized were antics they were trolling. If you guys look back historically, I have a history of doing that stuff, and I draw people in, and then I give informative content to the people who stick around. That's what I've always done. I've always had over-the-top antics, and that's what a lot of people who watch regularly are always puzzled. They're like, how come when I watch your channel, 95% of what you do is well-logic and well-reasoned, and you seem reasonably stable until you bust out with some crazy shit? I don't see how a person as crazy as you could go back and forth and be as logical as you. Exactly. Because it's an act. The craziness is actually an act on my part. It really is. And I'm not saying I haven't suffered from some depression and other stuff in my life. Yes, I legitimately do have PTSD, and that's due to my own childhood abuse. I'm an abuse survivor, and that there is some public record of that. That's not something that can't be substantiated. Yeah, I was abused as a child. I do have some issues as a result of that. But I went through a lot of therapy, a lot of counseling. So, I mean, I'm considered to be sane by normal standards, other than I do have a history of depression and other stuff off and on, which I've overcome. So all of that being said, is the craziness is something that I do from time to time to keep the channel interesting, to keep my name circulating, to draw people in. Because I enjoy doing some entertainment, but I actually prefer informative content. I actually prefer helping people with their goals. But you know what, guys? Some of the most informative, purely informative channels on YouTube can't get shit for views. I pay my bills off of this one. Successfully, by the way. And again, people can argue about that all day long. I probably make more money on this than people who hate me are willing to admit. I successfully live off this channel. A lot of those other channels who have just as good of information in the same area, they can't build the viewership that I do. And that's a big part of why. It's not that they're not informative. It's that that's reality, guys. People want to be entertained. They want shock value. They want to be drawn in with different things that draws attention, and you have to do that. So, I mean, in retrospect, was it the wisest thing for me to do? Probably not. And because a lot of it got misinterpreted certain ways, there were people who maybe were offended. And you know what? If you really and truly were offended by what I did, I'll apologize to you. You know what? It wasn't my intention to seriously offend anyone back then with that stuff. And there's a reason those videos are down. But it was actually all done as trolling. It was all done as attention. Now, some people can say, well, that's lying. Well, really, is every trolling thing that we do online lying? A lie is something that you do hoping people will believe you. I really and truly didn't think when I did that stuff that anyone would think I was serious. Or if they thought I was serious, they would think I was batshit insane. But I was hoping, and this is where I made the mistake. I was hoping it was obvious enough with the things that I said that I basically just pulled some Alex Jones and some Tom Clancy together and combined the two for some conspiratainment. I actually thought when I did it, it would just be seen as kooky conspiracy theory stuff. Like, I had no idea people would spin it in the direction of veterans or the military. I actually had no clue. Which sucked, and the people who really hate me, who ran their hate campaign against me, who seized on this, that was a real win for them, because historically, I actually have stood up for veterans on this channel. In fact, one of the very first serious real death threats I got was because I stood up for veterans while I was living in another country. I wasn't in the U.S., I didn't have all my guns, I wasn't in Texas. I got death threats for celebrating Chris Kyle Day because I was a native-born Texan and said, because I'm a patriot and I love my country, I'm going to celebrate Chris Kyle Day by eating a steak in his honor. Right? I got death threats for that shit. I was living in Europe. I was over in the United Kingdom. It didn't go over too well with some people, particularly some of a certain religious persuasion. So that didn't go over well. So it's kind of like I've actually been threatened on this channel. My first death threats were for standing up for veterans, and then all of a sudden I find I got veterans sending me death threats. And you guys know how that started? Because it got spun in a direction when I made up these things about being a hitman. All right, guys. Let me rephrase it. I want me to put this into layman's terms because people were confused by the terminology I used. I more or less insinuated that I was a paid hitman. Hitman. Let's use that term. There's nothing valorous about a hitman. And if you think that a hitman, if you were a veteran and you served this country, and you think that someone claiming to be a hitman who murders people for a living, murders sometimes civilians for a living, is valor, I think it's time for you to question your ideas of what valor are at that point. I'm just going to throw that out there. You need to seriously reassess your values at that point, bro. Because there's nothing honorable and there's nothing valorous about that. Is there? I mean, to my knowledge, there isn't. And I did a lot of it knocking at the Clintons. It was all kind of said that it was done on the Clintons' payroll. Because, you know, realistically, anyone who's been on the internet any period of time kind of believes more or less. Did any of you out there really believe the Clintons have never had people bumped off in large numbers? You know, the memes? Get with them times, guys. You know, when people put up pictures of the dead deer on the side of the road and say, what did this deer know about Hillary Clinton? I mean, in truth be told, are we going to, any of us going to say there isn't some truth to that? To that conspiracy theory? That's one of those conspiracy theories I'm going to go out and say, might be some truth to. Right? Because not all of them are false. Not all of them are crazy. But they all fall under conspiratainment, guys. I mean, Alex Jones made millions. Now, granted, he's been recently shut down, but the guy made millions of dollars in conspiratainment. You guys really think he believes all of that? So is he lying or is he an entertainer? It's entertainment. Entertainment, guys. In fact, he got up and testified under oath that he doesn't believe all of it. He doesn't believe most of it. He believes some of it. He testified under oath in front of a judge that he's an entertainer by profession. Welcome to the internet, guys. And I guess that's kind of the part we need to get to of how I got spun certain ways. Because, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you guys watched that and you didn't realize that I was trolling my ass off, and you didn't realize that I actually wasn't being completely serious there, it might be time for you to question yourself. You know, a lot of people are like, Jason, you're crazy, you're delusional. You're the one who believed me. If you really believed me, that I actually really thought what I was saying was going to be perceived by everyone as reality, I really tried to be over the top with it while still being vague so that I didn't, you know, break any laws potentially that would get changed in the future. While still being vague about it, I felt it was all done over the top enough that I thought reasonable people would realize it was trolling. I was pulling y'all's leg, yanking your chain, and hoping it would kind of do. And I got the idea from the internet already, because there were already people. There was a meme floating around about me already, about me being a CIA assassin. And I thought that was hilarious, and that's where I got the idea. I ran with it, because it was already, I figured, well, this little meme got circulated a few years back. Hell, let me run with it. This will be fun. You know, it didn't turn out to be so fun. All things considered, I've got a lot of death threats. We've had bomb scares, bomb squad, stuff like that. But, you know, that aside, how did it get spun into veterans? Because when I had done all that, and there was no mention of being in the military, there's no mention of veterans, a big gaming YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers made a video discussing me. And for some reason, someone had convinced him I said I was in the Army right after I'd done some of this stuff, right? He jumped up and made a video shaming me, claiming that it's horrible for me to have lied about being in the Army when I actually had not done that. Like, no one did any due diligence before this guy popped off this video. The video got over 1 million views. The next 24 hours, I literally received probably 1,000 death threats between all my social media and private messages. I screenshotted most of them and kept them, because some people did it under their real names or real profiles. Some of them were actually real. I looked at their Facebook profiles, about 40 of them were actually real veterans, all using their real Facebook profiles, sent me death threats over something that wasn't even true. I did get a little pissed, and that's why I made another trolling video back, and everyone took it as me saying F you to all veterans when I had previously been standing up for vets. No, I was talking to those people specifically. And you know what? Let's be realistic here. If someone really believes that their status as a veteran gives them a right to send death threats to an American citizen based upon an unsubstantiated rumor that they didn't actually double check before they sent the death threat to them, I think that person has every right to tell them F you in response. I think that person has every right to mess with them back for being a moron. Is that not reasonable? And that's been the worst part of it, is that the lack of due diligence, because everyone falls into the myth and the legend and the way it's been spun instead of really actually having looked at it realistically. The problem is that it didn't stop with me. People harassed my loved ones, my friends, family. And here's where it's really the messed up part. There are people who said because they were veterans, they were harassing them for being my friend or whatever. You guys who did that actually harassed some fellow veterans who actually knew about the whole thing. I had to sit down and explain what happened, and they actually were cool with it and all stayed my friends. But some of them were harassed. Some of them got called on the phone. Some people who were harassed are married to veterans. Yeah, one of my bros who is a Navy vet, really good friend of mine, his pregnant wife got harassing phone calls because of this from veterans who were threatening her and cussing at her for being my friend on Facebook and having interacted with me. I mean, let that sink in. A pregnant woman carrying a veteran's baby got harassed for being my friend by people claiming they were doing it because they were veterans. I mean, are you guys serious? Like, seriously? Did you guys not look to at least see who the person was and realize that her husband had served before you decided to harass her? And here's the problem with that. And the reason I didn't make a big deal about a lot of that, because I'm actually really concerned, and what I've said in the past, I'm concerned, again, as a conservative, I'm concerned as a Second Amendment advocate, that what some politicians want to do is to just declare veterans with PTSD as dangerous. They want to strip away their rights. They want to take away their right to own guns. And then we have veterans doing stupid shit like this because of stuff they saw on the internet. Are you guys seriously? We're at a point where you guys need to be fighting for your rights. Particularly with some of the crap that's been done with the VA, the other stuff. Like, veterans are not really, haven't been getting treated particularly well again during the last decade, truth be told. And some of their rights have been under attack, and a lot of it is claimed because they think you guys are going to be violent, because they think you're unstable. And then a bunch of veterans, because of something they see on the internet, go start acting violently and unstable. This is not good. All right, stop and think this sort of stuff through, fellas. Come on. Believe me, I'm really not your enemy. I'm really not. Again, I've made videos in the past discussing the problems with the VA and things like that. I'm really not your enemy, guys. Some of your enemy is sitting in DC, and I'm not one of them. But yeah, that's been the ridiculousness of it, is that people spun it out to be a stolen valor thing. Well, guys, you guys do know under the definition of stolen valor, you have to have claimed to have served in the military. I mean, this is the standard definition, at least in America. Now, abroad, other countries have different definitions, apparently. But in America, where I live, where all this transpired, you have to have claimed to have either served in the military falsely, held a rank in the military you didn't possess, because that's a big part of it, or won some medal or award that you didn't actually achieve, that you were not entitled to, claim that you were not given. Right? That's what stolen valor is. Some people have proposed that if the act gets reenacted, that it extend to being specifically a law enforcement agent or a member of an agency that you were not a member of. So in other words, if you specifically said you were an agent of the NSA and it turned out you weren't, if they expanded it, it would include that too. All right. I didn't do any of those things. In fact, I very, very clearly articulated that not only did I not do those, but I very clearly and explicitly stated I have never served in any branch of the military, and I have never been a member of any government agency. Come on, guys. Seriously. There's no stolen valor there. What you guys got was trolling. And here's the other point. The people who say, well, I believed it, you really believed it. Well, I guess I'm that persuasive then. I must be one hell of an actor, because I thought that it wasn't very believable personally. I guess I'm a better actor than I thought if I convinced you. So I should be given an Emmy for that shit. But no, that joking aside, you might want to rethink things if you really thought about that. And guys need to keep in mind, so many calls to the FBI have been made about me and to police agencies and everything that I've actually had to talk to them about all this. The FBI and I have talked about all of this already. They understand and they realized immediately. Let me rephrase that. The FBI looking at it realized immediately that I was trolling. Like, it was obvious to them. And despite all the calls they got, they actually were so miffed about the calls, they were actually considering starting to press charges against people for fraudulently wasting government resources on this. But yes, I have had to speak to the FBI multiple times. I have been inside their building. They're aware of the situation, for all of you people out there who called them. Out of all the stuff that's been done on the internet and all the hundreds and hundreds of police reports that have been filed against me, I have never been charged with anything for any of my internet antics. And I know people are going to point out, well, weren't you a suspect in one crime? Yes, I was. Technically, I was. But no charges were pressed because of the extenuating circumstances of it. The police looked at it. The DA looked at it and said, there's no way this guy will not beat us in court and sue us. We're not charging him with this. Again, because of the circumstances under which it happens. There are lots of things that you can do out there that are crimes, that are justified crimes under the situations, to where you technically will be found innocent or a grand jury will throw it out, or where the police are not going to press charges because they realize, yeah, this was actually reasonable, this was justified. So just throwing that out before people jump up and say, but weren't you listed as a suspect? Yes, I absolutely was. I was listed as a suspect. I was not charged, and I was told specifically by the police, yeah, you're not going to be charged for this. I was told that in person, like, no. All things considered under the circumstances, there's no way the DA's he's not going to take this for obvious reasons. So just so that people are aware of that. But yeah, here's the reality, guys. People wanted me to talk about this for a long time. They wanted a detailed response. There you have it. You know, if you guys really and truly didn't understand that I was messing with you, and this was years ago, by the way, guys. None of this has been in the last year. None of this has been in the last 2 years. This stuff has been gone a long time. The only reason people think I still talk about it is because it's circulated all over the internet. It's not coming from me. It's coming from everybody else who have created this big legend. And I guess as far as publicity stunts go, it all worked because hundreds of thousands of people are still talking about it years later. You guys have made me a legend, even though you didn't even realize you were being trolled. Welcome to the internet. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.